Okay, no worries.
Well, welcome. Welcome to another exciting episode of Extraordinary Ordinary Women. And I'm excited to be able to share with you stories of ordinary women in our community. Women who have had a dream or an idea and followed it through to fruition. Their stories will encourage you, uplift you, and hopefully inspire you to ignite the seeds of greatness within your heart. For it's through sharing that we come to realize that we're not Robinson Crusoe all alone on our island, but that there is, particularly now with social media, this network of truly amazing women who are ready to outstretch their hands with encouragement to you. Having found this for myself when my life was turned upside down, it is my gift to those women to be able to pay forward the gift of encouragement to others. So, without further ado, I have great pleasure in introducing you to Helena Botros. Good morning and welcome, Helena.
Good morning, Margarita, and thank you.
Oh, my pleasure indeed. Helena and I first connected on Facebook, where our shared love of horses and animals sparked a conversation. As we got to know each other, I discovered something truly special. Helena has dedicated many years to the study of whales. Her passion for animals runs deep, from the horses that first brought us together to the
Yep.
extraordinary work she has done with these magnificent creatures of the sea. So today she'll be sharing her journey, her insights, and her heart for the natural world. So please join me in welcoming Helena. Helena, what first sparked your interest in whales and the study of them?
Well, I must say that I probably loved whales and dolphins and cetaceans in general, the big love of my life. And that goes as far as I can remember. So that sounds a bit unbelievable, me coming, as you can judge by my accent, not from, I don't, I wasn't born in Australia. I was born in a very landlocked country in the center of Europe. And I think I can pinpoint the very beginning when we went to Bulgaria for a visit, for a holiday, and to the Black Sea. And that was the first time I saw the sea and so on. I was about 8, and we saw a dead dolphin on the
Oh,
beach. So it was a baby dolphin, and it unfortunately was dead. And I was asking what sort of being that is, and I was being explained that it's a baby dolphin and that it must have died because it must have drowned in some nets and so on and so forth. So that's where it all started. And I then started sort of reading about whales and dolphins. And then I was lucky enough 30 years ago to marry an Australian, come here and yeah, live close to the sea, and
okay.
therefore then be a bit more involved with the study. And I guess I would call it my relationship with whales. I wanted to study marine biology and ecology, but I actually did, but it was too scientific for me. It was too, in a way, limiting, I would say. So I said, no, I didn't want to be bound by just by research, by facts, by these things that are much better, more brilliant minds than mine. All right. So I said, no, I'll just have that relationship in a kind of artistic way, more so than scientific. But I was lucky enough during all those 20 years to follow that dream in a way that I became a guide on a whale watching boat in
Oh,
Bundaberg. So that was quite brief, but it was marvelous. It was on the Spirit of Musgrave. It's a boat that no longer exists. It's been, as I said, about 20 years ago. And that was just pure luck. And that's how synchronicity works.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So it's not luck, is it? It's
synchronicity.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Where my friend, who was actually the full-time guide, had to go, I don't know, on holidays or something. And she said, you want to do the guiding for me because you know so much about whales. And I said, yeah, no problem. So I did it, and I absolutely loved it. And I think so did the the passengers on the boat. I also was always corresponding with the young people from the Pacific Whale Foundation who have been in our waters. I think they are here every year. And in 2003, I was again lucky enough to become an intern on the boat Moondancer, which is a boat that was hired by the Oceania Project, Trish and Wally Franklin. So they are researchers who've been researching whales for, I don't know, decades and decades. Yeah, so that was sort of my involvement with whales, and then I obviously every year, once or twice or three times or more, went on whale watching trips with the local operators in Hervey Bay. Became a member of Sea Shepherd, so being very kind of out there as far as lobbying would go, or spreading awareness about the plight of whales, in the past, and the dangers that the whales are facing, and the sort of anti-whaling activities. So I wasn't directly there, but I was more, again, in the background trying to help through some lobbying and stuff like that.
Oh, because that was my next, a question in relation to Sea Shepherd. What was your role?
Yeah, it was mainly, a supportive role and spreading awareness of, what's happening with the whales. Yeah.
And I imagine you do that on social media to spread the awareness.
Pretty much, yeah.
And so you mentioned being an intern on the Oceana Project. What did that involve, Helena?
That involved, so we were there for 5 nights, 5 days, 5 nights, out on the, at Platypus Bay here in Hervey Bay. And being an intern, you help the researchers. So you would, so the researchers were Trish and Wally Franklin, and then they had also a student from, I don't know, I think she did marine biology, I'm not sure. And then it was some interns, and then it was some passengers. What we would be doing, we would be, let's say, collecting samples of whale skin when the whales were breaching. So they would shed some skin, and those samples we would collect just with a long stick and a little net at the end, and we would try to collect it. Try not to miss any, because otherwise we would get into trouble. Because it was like not the easiest thing. And I believe then that would be sent off to labs to look at the DNA, to look at, are there any illnesses, or are there any the general health of the whale, probably, and so on. Then there was photo identification of whales. That was mainly Trish who would be doing that. And that was photographing the ventral part of the whale's flukes, so tail flukes. And each whale has got it's like a fingerprint for humans. So the patterns of the tail flukes are unique to every single whale, and that's how they created a fairly large database for the whales, and they all had names or some kind of identification. And I believe that at that time, Trish and Wally worked with the Southern Cross University, where they also got their PhDs then, and they provided this huge, robust bulk of data and information about whales. It was sort of only starting at that time. Now there is a lot of interest in whales, a lot of studies, a lot of things. But at that time, it was just, they were I would say they might have been the pioneers here at least in Queensland, if not in Australia.
Yes, it certainly sounds like it.
We're talking back to, 22 years back, yeah.
Oh, yes, and time slips away so quickly, doesn't it? I mean,
it does, yes.
22 years back is still just inside this century, isn't it?
It is, yes, yes.
Gosh. So, Helena, whatever passion we choose to pursue, there are challenges, and becoming with your involvement with the whales, I imagine there were some challenges to overcome. Would you like to share some of those?
Well, challenges to me mainly would have been the progress, as we would want to call it. Pardon, the door slammed. Progress as such has got also its negative effects. And so let's say if we're talking about the challenges, my challenges are the challenges of the whales that they are facing. All right. And now that the whaling has ceased, of course, that goes back to, I would say, the 70s and so on, Yeah. Not minke whales, they still do whale minke whales. And they, now the Japanese, as far as I know, have left the International Whaling Commission in order to be able to resume, I think, the whaling of larger whale species. So, it wouldn't surprise me if humpback whales would again, become on their list that they would like to. I'm not saying they have. I'm not saying it will be in the near future, but who knows what's happening in the southern oceans anyway as we speak.
So, Helena, out of curiosity, if a country withdraws, put that scenario forward, what pressure can other countries put on that country to basically say, pull your head in and stop harvesting these creatures?
I would be making things up here, but I would suggest the book. It's by David Day, and it's called Whale Wars. It's been written it would have been from the 90s. And he writes specifically what has been done to, I guess, the word would have to be force the whaling countries to stop whaling. And it was in Australia, I think there was, now I don't know what the group was called, but it was actually led by Phoebe Fraser, I believe, Malcolm Fraser's daughter. And there was like a big sort of campaign to stop whaling and for Australia to become one of the countries, one of the champions for whales, basically, because Australia and New Zealand, in this, they were quite steadfast in protecting whales, quite, I think, to the 70s, if I am correct. And so far, they are still keeping their stance in that. However, then there are secondary threats to whales, which are not caused directly by whaling, but we're talking about ocean pollution. We're talking about, in Australia's case, the the shark control. So I am not saying that there shouldn't be any form of maybe preventing sharks from eating people, even though the numbers are very, very small. But there is this contentious thing between drumlines and between shark nets. And as I said, as we speak, New South Wales is putting up shark nets on a large number of beaches. I wouldn't say how many there is exactly, but it's very large. There is only, I think, a handful of councils that refuse to do that. And the other option is drum lines. There is also an option to create something that resembles like a kelp forest, which sharks do not. Actually, South Africa has got this, and I think Australia is trialing it. So they are trying to create some. It's like an artificial kelp forest. I don't know how I should say it, but it's basically things that are, from the bottom of the ocean that are kind of moving all the way up, and the sharks don't like that sort of too much motion, and that they will have to navigate their ways. So it's like a bit of a repellent. That's my very humble, small, limited understanding of it.
Yes.
And I think some places in Australia are trying to trialing it. Whether the success rate, I don't know. But with shark nets, why are they ineffective? Because they are suspended from the top, sort of some way down. Yeah. However, they only go for a limited length and limited depth. So the sharks can still swim under and swim around, and they still can, move past them. While dolphins and even whales who might feed in depth or might chase a school of fish or something, are more likely to be caught in there and drown. Dolphins are conscious breathers, so as far as they have to be aware of their breathing, and if they're caught, they drown, they die, and so do mainly calves, whales. There's not that many. It's quite a few who have been caught, but still, the death is quite horrible. And what we also forget is that with the shark attacks, that might be also linked more to scarcity of food in the oceans, and therefore they will be moving more towards the shores and look for another source for their overfishing, and destruction of habitat, and so on.
It's a cycle, isn't it? And
it's a cycle, absolutely. Absolutely.
Pull one thing out and disrupt it, it affects the whole thing, doesn't it?
Exactly, Margarita. It's like where do I have this knowledge from? Is from my daughter, who is actually studying the impact of shark control and shark nets on cetaceans. So that's her area of study now in her honors degree, and she's saying it's so complex, even just the benefits of dolphins and whales. The other day, somebody asked me and was saying, well, in a year, they only catch, the bycatch is only 200 dolphins or something, that's not that much. Well, it's a much larger number when we look at it over quite a few years. My daughter has the exact numbers, I can provide them. But what they forget is that, for example, something as simple as whale poo or dolphin feces, is very important because it provides nutrients for phytoplankton. Phytoplankton is the basic that's the basic nutrient for the smallest organisms at the bottom of the food chain, which are, however, the main food source for whales, for example.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'll just go and let this little dog in, because otherwise he will be disturbing us with the barking. Come on.
Well, we can't hear him, so there you go.
Oh, good. Okay.
But well, it's fascinating, and I guess sometimes you must feel that it's so overwhelming. But
It is.
having traversed this path, in order to stay positive, what are some of the rewards, Helena, that you see in this?
All right, reward. So, as I said to you before, when we sort of spoke initially, one of the rewards was So I wrote a book for children about whales. It's called Message from the Deep, and I wrote it when my daughter was about 4 years old. I was going to have surgery, and of course at that time I thought, I might not be coming out, so let's do something for my daughter, so there is something for her. And so I wrote her this book about dolphins and a pod of dolphins that was kind of local, and about whales and the interaction between dolphins and whales, and many things were happening in that little book.
Wow.
And I had to
Sorry, that was amazing. Keep going.
Yeah, I had to read it to her every evening, and then, but as what was happening in that book actually was quite real, because it was based a lot of those things was based on things that really happened. So, for example, there is a story about the stranding of two dolphins, and near Gary, Fraser Island. And actually, we were told that story by two rangers on Fraser Island about, that they were once on some dunes, and on those dunes, they heard some noise, like some big splashes. And they were sort of, it got their attention, and they went down on the beach, and they saw a dolphin, and the dolphin would be just like propel itself out of the water, and then just like flat, it would just fall on the water surface, and then again propel, and then flat, bang, on the surface. And they were saying, it was like, we were saying, what's this dolphin doing? That's unusual. They would just dive head first, and so they came closer, and they saw there was a beach dolphin. So obviously that dolphin outside, was calling for some help. That was their understanding. And they came and they saved that beach dolphin, So those stories are there, and they all, in a way, based on accounts of people, divers, and stuff like that, a relationship between a scientist and a killer whale in orca in New Zealand, for example, and all that is there. So, yeah, so my reward from all this is that now, like 30 years later, maybe 26 years later, my daughter is 31, she has become a qualified animal ecologist with interest in whales, dolphins, cetaceans, the ocean. She is an avid diver. She wants to get very much involved in conservation. So that's one reward. The other reward for me is when I guess to see more and more whales in the bay. And that's not due to anything that I have done, but it is just due to, I think, work of many people who, were working against whaling, for example, or are involved in trying to keep that whaling just off the, non-existent if possible. People who will go out and try to collect. I know it's probably small and insignificant, it seems at the first sort of look, but people who will go out there on the beaches and collect the rubbish, the plastic rubbish that's there, because every little bit of plastic, I guess, that's collected, is less plastic in the oceans, less microplastics in the oceans, less turtles that would be, dying of starvation because they consume so many microplastics that they can no longer sink, and they just float and they cannot eat and they starve. And that's happening all the time, So when I see people actually caring, when I see people, going there and not being lazy to pick up some plastics, simple as that. Along the road as well, there is so much of it that will get washed into the ocean. And it's like, Don Quixote fighting windmills, I know, but
well, so we have to move forward. And I'm assuming that your words of wisdom that you would impart was just as you've just said, no matter how small an action you do, it
yes,
contributes. And picking up rubbish on the beach, picking up the plastic is part of the big picture, isn't it?
Absolutely. Tread lightly.
Oh, absolutely. Helena, we could actually talk for so much longer, but I am conscious of your time.
I know.
And
no worries.
Thank you very, very much for sharing your story here today.
Thank you so much too. Thank you, Margarita.
My pleasure.
It was nice seeing you.
Likewise, Helena. And I just want to say to my listeners that I look forward to sharing another exciting episode of Extraordinary Ordinary Women.
Thank you.